So we embrace this initiative from the very beginning, taking into account that we are coordinating several Interreg PropTech projects between Spain and Portugal. So I am in charge of one of them, which is called Intrépida, and it's based on entrepreneur women from Spain and Portugal. I am the project manager, and I have been working for the foundation for some years. I'm scared of saying how many years I've been working here, but I'm very glad to give my support and my opinion to this exciting initiative.
Thank you very much. Then we pass the floor to Cristina.
Thank you. And thanks to have invited me today. I'm very glad to be here. I'm Cristina Mangano, and I'm a researcher at the Department of Integrated Marine Ecology at the Stazione Zoologica Anton Dor. And I'm performing my research as a marine ecologist in between the Sicily Marine Center of the Stazione Zoologica in Palermo and the Mediterranean Institute for Advanced Studies at the Balearic Islands, where I'm working on a research project that has been granted by the EU Commission in the framework of the Marie Curie Individual Fellowship Scheme for Excellence. I'm here today as during my long-lasting collaboration with the Laboratorio di Ecologia Gisera Lab at the University of Palermo, I had the opportunity, thankfully to the Interreg Volunteer Youth initiative, to mentor 6 young people, of which 2 are ongoing. And thinking about the day of today, I guess that the EV initiative for me can be represented by 3 main keywords. I'll say inspiration, motivation, and opportunity. In fact, in my experience, I saw very inspiring and inspired young people, very motivated in taking any advantage of the opportunity offered by joining a research team, for example. An opportunity that, for example, allows for 4 volunteers to start their research path as PhD students at the University of Palermo. So just a few months after the end of the experience with EV. And to me, the experience was a reason for personal and professional growing. And I really loved it. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and many thanks for the opportunity to be with you today, and special thanks to the AEBR team to give us the opportunity to speak and to represent the mentors side. So my name is Emmanuel Menescalco. I am 30, so still quite young, I hope. I'm French and I'm based in Marseille. In France. I've been working for the Conference of Peripheral Maritime Regions of Europe as a Senior EU Programs Officer for 6 years now, mainly focused on territorial cooperation since I'm coordinating Interac Med projects in particular. What I would like to highlight as regards the CPMR, it's that it is an organization that works very closely to citizens, since we represent a network of regions. So we try to make the link between EU policies and the way they are implemented in the ground. And we also another key point about the CPMR is that it's an organization that has been promoting territorial cooperation since the very beginning. So we were there in the 90s when Interreg was launched and promoting it very fiercely, I must say. I want also to say in this introduction of myself that I'm teaching at the university, especially in the ex-Marseille University, in Masters on Euro-Mediterranean cooperation. So for me, having the opportunity to work with Interreg volunteers is something wonderful, because most of the time, actually, some of my students apply, so I have the opportunity to have this link between, on the one side, the training part, in the framework of the masters, and on the other side, then the actual training and showing to these young graduates what is European territorial cooperation. I'm here today as an IV mentor since CPMR has been hosting IVs for a bit more than 1 year. We started in February last year, and we're so happy with this initiative, which we think is a wonderful win-win opportunity. IV is so much more than a kind of traineeship. Actually, for me, it's a way to help young graduates grow as professionals, but also to learn from a variety of profiles, both from an academic and cultural point of view. And lastly, I want to say that from the point of view of mentors, IV is about getting support in your daily work with highly motivated young graduates, while offering tailored training depending on each volunteer's interest and profile. And this is very wonderful, according to me.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel, Catalina, Cristina. Also, these your explanations show us the variety of projects and institutions and all the secondary effects of this type of projects, in which suddenly we are involving also the academia and strengthening the different circles of territorial cooperation. So really a win-win situation for everyone. Thank you for your contributions. Well, and now we go to the IVs, to the volunteers. We will use the same system. Well, I hope I will be able to pronounce Becta, Luca, and Rosa. Then we will start with Becta.
Hi, so I'm Becta. So I'm also French. I grew up in Strasbourg, so I have myself a bit of experience with concerning the border. But I currently live in the Netherlands, in The Hague, and I am working remotely because of the pandemic as an Interreg reporter for the France Wallonie Flanderen Joint Secretariat. So I'm still very happy that I can do it, and hopefully very soon I will be able to go to Belgium to work from the office. So one of the reasons that I took part into the IV is because I really wanted to share my ideas and be part of the opportunity and the possibility to improve Interreg and give my ideas, share the information, and help the program develop.
Thank you very much. Then we pass the floor to Luca.
Hi, good afternoon. I am Luca, I'm from Italy, but in the past years I've lived a little bit in quite some different countries. I hold a master's degree in European studies, and I studied in Denmark, Tourist University. And during my studies, then I moved to Brussels to start my career in European affairs and get involved also in the European election 2019. Currently, after staying around 2 years and a half in Brussels, I decided to do a different experience and join the Interreg family as an Interreg reporter at the Interreg Baltic Sea Region Joint Secretariat, which is in Rostock, so North Germany. Following my passion for European affairs, cross-border and international cooperation, sustainability, but also communication and journalism, which is a field I'm very interested in and I want to keep working on, but also my closeness and my interest in the Baltic Sea region. As I said, I studied in Denmark, so I feel that this region is one of my favorite parts of Europe. So I very much like to be based here and work with this region and to help this region to grow. I'm happy to be here today to join this discussion on how to see the future of the program of EVY.
Thank you very much, Luca. Then Rosa Escamilla, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rosa Escamilla, and I volunteer as Interreg project partner at Scale Up, thanks to the IV initiative. My host organization is EURADA, the European Association for Development Agencies, that gathers people interested in economic development And well, we work with countries from the European Union and beyond. And well, thank you very much, first of all, for this opportunity. I am graduated in Law and Political Science and Public Administration, and now I'm studying the Master of Laws. The IB initiative has given me the opportunity to develop my work and experience in fields related to regional economic development and social cohesion. And well, our mission with the Scale Up is to contribute to European competitiveness and the acceleration of economic growth through the improvement of policy instruments. So, well, as a young European, I believe we are permanently facing new challenges in which we must contribute all our knowledge and capabilities in order to advance to a greater area and to advance in our common European identity. So for me, IB is a synonymous of opportunity to learn, to work and to grow and to live a unique international experience, both in a professional and humanitarian level. So as I said, thank you very much for this opportunity, for this high-level discussion about territorial cooperation, and nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much, Rosa, Luca, and Becta. And Rosa, please pass our greetings to Eurada team, Esteban Pelayo, and all the colleagues. We cooperate regularly with them, so it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And then it's a pleasure to have you all, of course. Well, thank you for the presentation. Now, I think that everybody knows a bit better what is this about and which type of people are behind. I think if I were new here, I would be very, very interested in taking part in this group. Just looking at the way you are presenting yourselves and speaking about a European project in this way. This is probably the dream of the founder fathers of Europe. They were not aware that this idea that they had in the early 50s of the last century was going to go beyond the high politicians meeting from time to time to make big decisions. Now, Europe is closer to the citizens thanks to projects like this, and of course, thanks to your participation on it. So, well, now I think the presentation was a very important part of this, but now we will go to the contents part of the meeting, in which we have prepared some questions that we would like you to answer. We have systematized a little bit in order to be agile, and I hope that this will be also interesting for those who are watching us. Well, the first question we would like to make is about IVY, about Interreg Volunteer Youth. The project is already running for 4 years. In principle, it will end at the end of this year. But well, we are working also to prepare a proposal for the coming years. We know that there is a clear will from the European Commission to follow with this. And looking at even at the numbers of the project, then the number of young people taking part, projects, programs, but also looking at the perspectives that this can have in the future, where it seems that the territorial cooperation can play an even deeper role in the next phase of European integration, where there are so many challenges arising from the pandemic, but also for challenges like the climate change, demographic change, the digitalization, etc. We need to involve the young people. And I know very few programs. Of course, we have Erasmus, which is another story, another beautiful story. And we hope that also IVY could inspire other initiatives in other departments of the Commission of the European Union. But now I would like to ask you, how do you see the future? Would you like IVY to be? What do you think it could be improved? What do you think that could be added, or perhaps what we should change? We will have the perspective of the 3 groups of stakeholders that we have today here. So I think that it would be interesting to see what is the view of one of the IVYs about how the future should be. So I will give the floor to Luca in order to answer this question. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I think to answer this question, I will talk about how to make IV more accessible in general to young people. I think one of the first points would be the promotion of the program, because when you're young and you look for opportunity, especially when you're a student, but even afterwards, it's always difficult to know where to go for or where to look for those opportunities. So I think a good starting point would be to have a better cooperation with university and schools to promote like the programs on the web on their website, because then and that's something I've noticed in both like my university in Italy, where I studied my bachelor, in Denmark. There were not a lot of links and pages related to the website of the university of the opportunities offered by the European Union, not even to, for instance, for us that were like a program of European studies. So, but this should be also go beyond like just political science students and students involved already in European studies and knowing already a little bit about Europe, but we really try to promote it in as broad as possible to involve students and young people from all different areas that could really gain a lot from this. Because at the end, the program is very intersectional and covers a lot of different topics. So it's not just about political science student or European studies. Another point I would like to raise, how to make it more accessible to young people, is also about the age, because right now the program is for young people from 18 years old to 31 years old, if I'm correct. And I think it would be nice maybe to lower a little bit the age and involve also people that are under 18, so from 16 years old, because we see, like, for instance, from all the climate youth movements, and that young people, even under 18, are already like very much involved and want to be active in like changing the future of Europe and the future of our generation. So I think it would be actually more useful to younger people than maybe people around, you know, their 30s, where I see they're maybe already at another step in their career. So maybe a bit, I don't have the percentage, but I guess like people around 30, 31 are maybe a bit less interested in taking part in this program, because they see it as more for younger people, while I would see that people under 18, around 16, could be actually very much interested in this. Another point is would be like to make it more economically accessible, in the sense that, for instance, where I am now with the Interreg Baltic Sea Region program, they on the top of the funds offered by EVI, they also helped me with the accommodation, and they found the accommodation for me, and they actually paid for my accommodation. And I think in this way, then you can really not have to look for other funds to sustain yourself while you are abroad. And I think it would be nice to make it kind of compulsory for all, like the participants in the EVI program to have it, to receive both like covered by the accommodation and also the funds, because then in this way everyone could really be able to take part in the initiative, no matter of the you know, what's their economical situation. And one last part, I think it would be interesting to add like actually a language course as part of the program as well, because I mean, at the end we talk about you know, transnational cooperation, and languages are very important in all the EU, and are important is also for all the Interreg programs. So I and also I've noticed myself, like being here in North Germany without really knowing the much German, how actually it's important actually to learn and know more about the language, the different languages of the region, part of the program. So I think it would be very interesting to have the opportunity actually as an integral part of the program to learn more about the languages of the interest region.
Thank you very much, Luca. Well, I have to remind that we have to try to make the answers a bit shorter, because otherwise we will go. I don't have any problem to stay 1 hour more, but perhaps the other colleagues. Well, anyway, thank you, Luca, because you have tackled probably some of the key issues. The accessibility we have tried to inform all the universities, but then another question is what the universities do with this material. On the question of the age, probably somebody will answer, but to deploy minors in a different country is very problematic. We were talking about that, and this could be a big problem. But there are some suggestions, like involving younger people in groups, like making summer camps, things like that. Even these young people, younger people than 18, could only be available probably in the summertime, or things like that. But there was an idea of creating some summer camps for children close to Interreg project. So thank you for reminding, and we take very good note of it. The money is another issue. It's not the same to be volunteer in Sweden than being volunteer in another countries. And well, there are, thanks a lot. The languages, these are the issues which are all the time on the table. Thanks, Luca. Well, now we'll ask one of the mentors. In this case, I will ask Catalina. Should we say Cathy better? Okay, please put your mic on.
Right, both are fine. My friends call me Cathy, my colleagues call me Catalina. It's more serious, they say.
Okay, then we have the same question for you. Well, how do you see the future?
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to mention that we joined the initiative from the very beginning in 2017. And we have also taken part in initiatives like Erasmus+. So when I heard that the Ivy were going to be extended for 2 more years, we were very happy to continue welcoming people. And I think that this must be also a right moment to ask the Commission to continue working for more time, or to apply this lesson and to create new and future projects based on this. As you mentioned at the beginning, the pandemic just came to tell us many lessons. And one of them is that we need to work in a team. We cannot create any important thing just to go on our own. So we are very happy to support young people from the fact of being able to move to different countries. At this moment, I think that there are many feelings of being independent, being individualistic, being separated from, as for example, in Spain, we have cases of separatism as well. And we face the fact that we need to work together. So I will encourage the Commission to continue working for this kind of initiative, not to stop, but to look for the funds to make it possible. I have listened very attentively to Luca, to what he said, because I'm very open to the opinion of our youngsters. And I agree with the increasing of the quantity of money that youngsters may have at their disposal, despite how difficult it can be. Nevertheless, I disagree with the age, with the fact that you talk about diminishing the age of people taking part in the program, because in my opinion, it could be the opposite. It could be to increase the age of the people joining the initiative, which is beyond 30. And on the other hand, I agree with you regarding publicity. I think we need to support any kind of event, and that is the reason why I offer myself to be here today. We from our institution, I think we have also the commitment to spread the word. So every time we have the opportunity, we share activities, we record videos, and we share this with the rest of the projects that are in the program, Interac Med. Why? Because I think that we need more mentors, maybe, and we need more companies and more projects to take the challenge of welcoming people. So I think it's also our duty to spread the word and not only to leave in the hands of the Commission to make it more available to young people. So I think that we are all in this as a team. And I think that I should stop here in order to make everybody contribute, and then maybe afterwards we can discuss in details these ideas.
Thank you very much, Kathy. And yes, I think this is probably most of us, we have the same ideas on what are the challenges and what we can do to ameliorate. But it's very good to have the opinion from those of you who are exactly on the ground. Thanks a lot. Well, now we go to the heart of Europe. And there we have Agnes. I really, every time we are in an event on Ivy and I look at you, I have to think, well, how many things have happened. So the first is yours, please.
Yes, thank you. So many questions to reply now after the two interventions from Luca and Kathy. First, maybe to answer, and that overlaps, how do I see the future of Ivy as an initiative, time-wise? I see it as long-lasting. I'm no longer, as Pascal, responsible for the initiative itself. But I am responsible for 4 years now for communication of regional policy. And we've come to the conclusion that this was one of the activities we were doing for the youth, which has the largest impact, the best key performance indicator, if you wish, with more than 100 young people, new people offered an experience every year. There are not many like initiative that can boast, at least not for regional policy, such an impact. So I wish it to continue. I hear what you say, we hear it all the time, it's annual. Yes, we live with annuality, that's the budgetary principle. So unlike Interreg and regional policy, which benefits from a long-lasting duration of 7 years, the duration of the programming period, this is centralized technical assistance managed by the Commission centrally. We have a yearly budget, so every year we need a new decision. Doesn't mean that we don't want to continue, but we still have to get this damn decision every year. But doesn't mean that it lasts after 1 year. No, that's not the idea. That's just a constraint and we have to live with it. Then the future of Ivs geographically, this hasn't been tackled, but I think I'm very happy that with Martin's enthusiasm in particular, we've been able to start with the EU only, then we gradually extended to EPA, cross-border cooperation, so accession countries, and then the ENI, so the neighboring countries, East and South. So I think we have the whole Interreg community on board now, including in the outermost regions, and I'm really happy we could manage this extension. And then what could be improved? I think I will largely come back to your points, Luca and Kathy, and there are two to me, maybe one that hasn't been so much tackled and one that has been. I think it is still, and we feared it from the outset, like Erasmus originally, too elitist. I mean, look at you young people, you have master's degrees. It doesn't have to be. So I take your point, Luca, that we should ensure that university publish it more, promote it more, but so should secondary schools. I'm currently in France on the Italian-French border, if you wish, and on Alcotra, which was one of the first program to join with projects. They had very local young people who didn't have master's degree, undergraduate. And that's also what Interreg is here for, to make Europe more lively at the local level. So you're most than welcome as graduates yourself, but let's make it more popular if you wish, because this is also the European idea. It's not just for the elite. And there I take your suggestions, Luca, very, very welcome suggestions. to promote them. And the best ambassadors of Interreg Volunteer Youth are you as IVs, with testimonials. Be outspoken, spread the word, because you're way more credible than we are. Who are we to say it's a wonderful thing? You have experienced it yourself. On lowering the age, like Martin said, we had contemplated this when we had the very first draft, but we abandoned it because it was way more difficult to deploy underage young people across Europe at the time, even more so now that you go to accession countries and neighboring countries. But to be reflected upon, the accessibility economically, this I've heard many times from IVs themselves, and I remember a discussion with Italian IVs, not difficult to find, they are the population number one amongst IVs, I think. And there I remember a young Sicilian IV who said, yes, I was up north, but I was like you, Luca, I got the accommodation offered for free. And this is, I think, the best sign of European solidarity we can get. It's not all about money. It's about your heart, those who welcome you. And they do that very readily. So I wouldn't dwell so much on the money aspect. I think with the same amount of money, taxpayers' money, I'd rather have more IVs than less IVs with accommodation paid ex ante. On the training, yes, this is part of the idea for IVs. Language courses, I don't know, we haven't gone in that many details, but this is more for my colleague Pascal to take. I cannot commit as I'm no longer in charge of the file. My other, and yes, and when it comes to Kathy's suggestion to go above 30, I don't know, Erasmus went from the young people to Erasmus for all, and then Erasmus Plus, as the latest name has it. Maybe, who knows, one day we will all be Interreg. And on the mentors, the community of mentors, I think, contrary to what we feared, there are more projects hosting young IVs than there are programs. So there is quite a pool of candidate projects, thrilling projects like yours, Kathy, on women entrepreneurs. So I wouldn't be too worried if I were you about this. And my very last point, sorry for being so long, where I would improve maybe the initiative is to promote, encourage young ones to go for citizen engagement activities. This is something we launched. It's still possible. The experience I have attended were in Spain, mainly Santander, where it was hand in hand with universities. So young IVs teaming up with academics like Emmanuel and Maria Cristina, so that this way they themselves would become the ambassadors of IVs and trigger a debate on Europe where they were posted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agnes, and really well. Some of the things you have mentioned, we could guess, but it's very nice to hear, and especially about the extension. As you know, we always in the month of May, more or less, we start to think, okay, we have to know what's going on because for the deployment, etc. But the question, the reality is that it has worked very well. We know this situation even from one period to another. And we are very happy the way that DG REGIO has managed, because you were doing some of the steps in record time. So, and then I think the project has not felt that much any gap. So things are well running very well. And something you have mentioned about Luca, and it's true. 1 week ago, Cinzia we were talking with Cinzia about one case in which a volunteer has been offered to the accommodation, but in family houses, so to stay with families. So we were thinking about what is the implication for the money, but actually the main point is here. I was thinking, okay, this is like a project in itself, because suddenly we have a young person who is moving to another country to support Interreg projects and then has the opportunity to live in a family. Of course, from the economic point of view, will be very convenient for the young person. But imagine, then it's a kind of family Erasmus, where you will have probably this family as friends forever, especially if they have people in your age. So it's I had the opportunity to stay with a family in another country when I was young, and actually it's one of the best experiences I had during my youth. So probably we are again in a situation in which a challenge becomes an opportunity, which is probably one of the references for Interreg. So thank you very much. I think we are getting very, very good ideas. And looking at our colleagues from the Commission, well, this is going to be something absolutely productive. So, well, we have talked about IVY, but all the time, IVY has to do with Interreg, with European Territorial Cooperation. For those who are listening and are not belonging to our business, the European Territorial Cooperation, Interreg, is composed by cross-border cooperation, which is the main issue that we are dealing with, and actually is the biggest part. But there are also interregional cooperation and transnational, and all of them have a lot of programs. So it's, if you're not, dear colleagues who are watching this, if you're not aware of these programs, please pay a look to the website of DG REGIO and many other materials, and you will find that there are from very huge programs to smaller ones that close to the ground. So the opportunities for being a volunteer are very, very huge. But regarding the European Territorial Cooperation, something that we would like to improve. Anyway, if we look back to the first Interreg, now we are going to Interreg 6. It's more than 30 years of Interreg. But when we look back, for me, it's I have difficulties to ask for more improvements, perhaps for more budget. But I think it has improved a lot. There are thousands and thousands of organizations, local authorities, regional authorities taking part. I think there are almost 20,000 projects, or we should be close to, probably in the next period, we will achieve the number of 20,000 projects of European Territorial Cooperation, which is, but anyway, probably there are things, there are elements, there are issues that Interreg has not achieved yet. Probably those of you who are for the first time or for a long time working in Interreg programs and projects, perhaps you have some ideas on how to make it more effective. If Interreg is really close to the citizens, or could it be closer? Think of, especially in the case of cross-border programs, which are more, I think, are more close to the territory. And of course, if you have something that you like particularly, please let us know. So I think that everybody will be very happy to listen to these reflections, which are also, I think, it's probably the right time to talk about that, because a period is about to end and a new period is about to start. And we don't know exactly how this period will be, not about the programs, but how our world will be after the pandemic, because some things probably will change. So now we will follow again the same system. If you agree, we will follow. First, we will have the opinion of the volunteers, then we have the opinion of the host, and then we will have the opinion of the European Commission. So I invite Becca, Maria Cristina, and Pascal to answer this question. We will start with Becca. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I would like to start so it's a bit a tricky question for me, because I did grow up next to the border. So as a citizen, I grew up with the idea of this border, this other country, but it was like a knowledge, but not a fact. Like for me, going to Germany or going to Belgium or Switzerland was something that I would do more easily than going to Paris. So my reality was closer to another country without having this idea of making a difference about it. To me, going there was not going somewhere else, despite that it is. And but also I'm privileged because I grew up in Strasbourg. So the idea of Europe, cooperation, I had it my whole life, in school, in just looking outside. And that's a reason why personally I'm engaged into the Interreg initiative, and I'm interested into it. And I believe it's an incredible program because it's really solution oriented. So it does really like also focus into like a more local territory, and like does focus into the dynamics that are in play, that are like touch the citizens that live in those areas. So it's closer to reality. But then also, it's maybe my little criticism about it, I will say, it's like it tends maybe to become a bit too institutional, and then suddenly it's like far away from citizens, because like maybe in the way it's built, because it has to, or maybe we have to think about like how to like rethink it. But the information, the data from the projects are not necessarily relatable to people. So having something like having a project information on the budget, the impact, the result is something, but it doesn't necessarily say to people what is the impact to their daily lives. It does help improve the situation, resolve issues made around this area or the cross-border cooperation. But like, it does not tell us what is going on, what does it mean to me that Interreg is active in my area, that projects are being financed by the EU, and maybe trying to create a more consultations about the population, about like their opinion, about like what themes needs to be addressed, what issues are they facing, and like have them actively orient the Interreg programs and the projects that are selected and financed. But also something I think would really be beneficial to Interreg is like also creating a citizen project call. So I know that now it's mainly the institutions or entities that can apply for Interreg financing projects, but also maybe find a solution about like how to involve citizens themselves into being active into this cross-border dynamics. So that's.
Thank you very much, Becca. I'm sure that Pascal will reply more in detail. But from our point of view, I think you have tackled one of the main issues, which is that sometimes we have the impression that we have a circle of usual suspects, that we are always the same people. Even we are a lot, but we are only a part of the European citizens, and many are not aware of this type of initiatives. So, and also, but you mentioned why, because probably we have not. When I say we, I'm talking about everybody who is involved. We have not been able to show the impact. So that's why I think the Commission is putting a lot of attention on territorial impact assessment. And then once the assessment, especially in cross-border areas, it's not so easy because you have two countries, different type of data, etc. And then once we have this assessment, then the question is how to communicate this. And I'm not talking about academic paper with a lot of data and references, but something which is really going to the citizens. That's why you young people, you can tell us how to do it, how to better do it.
Yeah,
So,
if I could add something
please.
to that. I do believe that the Interreg programs can and do benefit from the IV, because I see it in my personal experience, right, especially right now in the transition towards Interreg 6, that I have been listened to, and that I can see that this barrier of like institutional and citizen, which I am, because I'm not here as a professional, I'm here as a volunteer, is an input to the programs, because I do give my point of view as someone that is not from the inside. And that's something that maybe should be thought of as how to integrate the citizen view into the program.
Exactly. Yeah, you can see most of the heads were doing like that. So we agree. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Oh, well, then now we will see the opinion of the projects, programs, the mentors. So Maria Cristina.
Yes, thank you. I'm very happy to express my opinion after Becca once. So I'm from Sicily. So I'm living and I'm doing most of my research activity in an island that is exactly in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, surrounded by other countries. And I had to say that the European territorial cooperation is something that was and is still essential. Essential as a citizen, and I'll tell you now why, and essential, of course, as a researcher, because allow us to do cross-border projects and and look at results and stuff like that. The program to me is very effective. It's true that improved a lot and always in better. Specifically, I have had the experience of Interreg Italia-Malta, taking part to two projects as a co-principal investigator. The project has been led by the Laboratorio di Ecologia at the University of Palermo. One was called the Harmony and closed in February. And the second one is called the SENHAR. So Harmony was let's say, more scientific-oriented project. Gave us the opportunity to create, for example, the first harmonized monitoring plans and strategies for the more vulnerable marine ecosystems in between Sicily and Malta. And when we were finishing the project, we were a bit upset because, as you said, Becca, we said, oh, how we should have the money and the time to work and communicate this huge amount of data. Once we were upset, the new call came up, and there was a specific call on campaign, sensitive awareness campaign. So we applied for the specific call on sensitive campaign, and we got the SENHAR, that is sensitiveness of harmony. So campaign of sensibilization on harmony results. So we are in a good position of having the opportunity to now. And for this reason, there are two EV volunteers that, as you are every day at every meeting, asking how we should translate the message and suggesting how to translate the message. For us, believe me, it's more satisfactory than do science sometimes, because it's a way to see our graph, very boring, became graphical abstracts. We are creating storytelling for children. We are organizing beach cleaning that is informing science. So a beach cleaning, I had the meeting before starting this one, to collect microplastic and plastic that will be analyzed by a scientist. So this experience joined. So the two projects gave us the opportunity to work in the creation of a science stakeholder policy interface. So it's very ambitious, but we want to integrate also the citizens in the second lucky chance that we had. And the only suggestion that I can do, as said by Becca, is to push a bit more pressure to scientists and, let's say, more audience that will apply to the project. So ask more in case also as a preliminary premiality, let's say, into the evaluation form. So a premiality specific if you translate your results for citizens. So if you promote the translation or any of your industrial results, scientific results, collective results. So of course we can do it and we are happy to do it, but if it's recommended, you know how it works, people will move into the change. They will start integrating new figures, new professional figures. And so I would suggest also to start it as soon as possible. So while start designing the project, it's also good to start design the way we want to communicate our results. So this is the recommendation. Recommend not to have, just an awareness campaign at the end, but start designing your project in two directions. If you want science, industry, anything, and citizen. The paths are going to be parallel. Only in this way at the end there will be a good exchange, and and also fruitful for us, because we can find a way to be less bored. So this was my point.
Thank you very much, Maria Cristina. Well, there is nothing like talking to someone who is a professional in its own business and then giving an opinion based on that. I think this is a very, very, very important. So, well, I hope that our colleagues will take very good note. By the way, I would like to stress, there was a question about the language. Well, you know that IVY is coordinated with the European Solidarity Corps, and there in the platform of the European Solidarity Corps, there are language courses which are available for the volunteers. So if anyway, if you want to know more, I'm talking especially to those who are watching, you can get in contact with us and our team will inform you, or you can go to the European Solidarity Corps platform. Probably we will get a link in the chat, but the chat is for us, I think. It's not for Facebook. Well, I think you can contact our team and then we can provide this information. And by the way, you can be informed if you want to be an IVY. So, well, now I will pass the floor to Pascal, who is the boss of the team. So we are really looking forward to your.
Well, the boss is not the replies to all the answers. No, thank you, Martin, and thank you, Becta and Maria Christina, for giving input to this part of the discussion. Well, maybe, well, you probably are aware, but still to inform you, we're at the moment in the middle of the informal negotiations for the next generation of the Interac programs. So we still officially have to wait for the publication of the new regulations for the next program period. But in principle, of course, we already started discussing with our counterparts how the next generation of programs will look like. And some of the ideas we have been trying to, some of the points you also mentioned, we have been trying to integrate already in the new setup for the program. So I will go through some of them. Talking about citizen engagement, and of course it's a big, broad topic right now. We should stimulate more grassroots development, bottom-up approaches, etc. Bring Europe closer to the citizens. That's one of our key objectives in our new programs, not only for Interac programs, but for all programs. I think Interac has already been a bit of an outsider here already from the very beginning, that we support much more than let's say what we call the mainstream programs and the national programs and regional programs, much more small people-to-people projects, where we really try to bring citizens on both sides of the border together, because we see that especially in border regions where there's less long tradition of cross-border cooperation, you have to start with getting to know each other, with trust building. So I think that's something which is crucial in order before you start to the next level and start developing common projects. First thing is to get to know each other better. So this type of people-to-people projects, we have already been stimulating since many generations of Interac programs, and we will continue. The only thing what we try to do now in the next programs is to make the accessibility even easier than it was before. So not to have, when we want to bring small football clubs together or culture organizations together, that they're not bothered with all kinds of long application forms with a lot of requirements and conditions, but to make it as easy as possible. And that we have put together under the heading of so-called small project funds. That's a new initiative in the regulation where we make it as accessible as possible. So certainly we have been trying to build on that and to increase in that sense also citizen engagement. Well, Becta and also Marie Christina, you mentioned the importance of communication, and there I think you're totally right. It's an area where not only we in Interac, but the Commission as a whole, I think can improve and can learn from. I think we're still too much often stuck in our own jargon and vocabulary, and when we try to communicate things very simply, then it still sounds very, for outsiders, still very administrative and abstract. So I think communication is really a profession on its own, and I know Agnes is working on a lot in a new job, but in her current job as head of unit for communication, to look at many new ways how we can reach out, using much more social media, doing creative initiatives, for example, setting up training programs for young local journalists to write about the EU, etc. So we should be careful that we do not move into propaganda, because I think that's also something we should avoid, but really to raise awareness about the EU in general I think is an important initiative. And within IVY, of course, we have set up this new element of citizen engagement, where you as IVYs can work specifically on this part, to communication, to bring the program closer to the citizens, etc. So I think this is really something where you as IVYs can really contribute, because your you're young, you have new ideas, you have new skills, you can bring new, fresh, creative ideas into an organization. And I think that's very important for us. And also we as Commission, once again, can learn a lot there still to improve better. Then on territorial impact and how we can communicate that projects have been successful, or how to use the right indicators. Well, you know that we have to make our programs as measurable as possible so that we can prove that they have been successful. It's not only about spending the money, but also about proving what they have really led to. And while territorial impact is one element, but we've also trying to work on, and we continue to work. It's a continuous exercise, and certainly we're not perfect there yet at all. But for the next generation of programs, we've been trying to develop better indicators which can encompass better the effect of our projects which we support with European money. I think what we also have to be important, at least that's for me, it's very, very important, that we have to be careful that we preserve the uniqueness of the cross-border cooperation programs. They are unique next to the national and regional programs, and also the projects should be unique. We should avoid that we support so-called mirror projects. You support one tourism project on one side of the border, then the other one side of the border gets also a project, and we give it a little bit of cross-border flavor. No, we really have to be aware that we really have to support cross-border projects, because if we would continue it more in these mirror projects, at the end of the day, we hollow out our own Interreg programs, and that would be at a detriment. Final point, one key element, and which is, I think, is for me personally one of the most important things we hope to achieve for the new programs for the next program period, is that we work not only on purely investments, but also start working more on institutional administrative bottlenecks. People living in a border area are very much aware that if you live on one side of the border, you work on the other side of the border, or you want to get a medical treatment on the other side of the border, or you're a student studying on the other side of the border, daily practice shows that there's still a lot of bottlenecks you are confronted with. And I think that's something we have built in the new programs. There's a new, in the menu we offer, there's a new objective which the programs can choose from, better governance, it's called, better cooperation governance. And we really have been encouraging and the programs to build this into their programs, so that next to the pure investments, we also look a bit more on how we can work on this more governance aspects and stimulate more administrative capacity building type of actions, institutional cooperation, etc. Because I'm very much convinced there's still a lot to gain also in the coming years. And it's quite positive to see that quite a lot of programs have taken this up right now. So thank you. That's I would conclude here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pascal, for your very frank view on the issue. I think it's very important what you say, but also it's very important how do you say it. So we are very happy to work in such a with our partners in the European Commission, where we are really frank to express what worries you and what are you planning to do, etc. So it's really amazing, and I think we hope that we will follow together in this process. Well, we have passed the expected time, but we were quite sure that we would have to take some more time when we started, because probably 1 hour was not that much for many things we want to talk about. So we will jump now to the third question. This is the last question planned, and then let's see if we can have afterwards a couple of minutes to get to take a few questions. Anyway, this question is about the youth. So I think that some of you have already put some of these questions on the table, and even some of you have already given some answers. But now we will give the opportunity also to the volunteer, Rosa Escamilla, to the host, Emmanuel, and to Astrid, also from DG REGIO, to answer or comment on this question. How can we involve the young people who are not aware or involved in the EU policy making process, in particular in European territorial cooperation? There were already some clues about that previously. But also what do you expect from young people who are involved in Interreg? And then actually the question is, what can young people bring to Interreg? I think we have started giving some answers to this question. But now you have the chance to elaborate a little bit on that. So I would start following the same order with Rosa.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Well, I will try to be brief. Well, I believe that the role of the young in the European Union is essential, and the future and the consolidation of this great project depends on the involvement of the young and in the attention of each of the main European policies, where is, of course, territorial cooperation. So the young people need to see and feel the Europe as an intrinsic reality, as a practical reality in their lives, and not just as a distant institution. Well, as it has already been mentioned, we can say that the Erasmus program is one of the greatest achievements in these regards. As one person that has had this experience with Erasmus, I can totally confirm that you feel part of a single community, and you start to understand what's the meaning of a common process and a common project. So I think we should be more ambitious and bet in more practical projects, not only in the professional and academic way, but also in fields related to volunteering as the IB initiative. As I said, I think every European Union policy, including here, of course, territorial cooperation, has to find their Erasmus formula. So what I mean with an Erasmus formula is giving us, to the young, the opportunity to be in concrete projects, giving us a voice to be heard, and where we can share all our ideas and our concepts. And well, I think, of course, that the IB initiative is the best example of this. I'm now volunteering in a project where I feel that I'm part of this project, of this process of growth. So, so from this side, it's true that the IB initiative is fantastic. And I say all of this because, well, the 21st century is facing a total technological revolution and an absolute environmental challenge. And I believe that the European cooperation is the basis to advancing in this period. And to advance, we need young people, because we are very highly prepared generations, born hand in hand with the technology and aware of the issues of climate change. So I think this is a common process. There are common challenges that where the borders don't exist, and we have to go all together, and we need to be there working on all these issues that are going to affect us in the short and in the long term. So that was more or less what I wanted to contribute today. And well, of course, I would like to add, as yesterday was the Europe's Day, I would like to add as one reflection that I have here is that I think we, as a young European, I want to emphasize that Europe has to react to education. And yesterday was Europe's Day, and children, teenagers, and young people from all Europe have to be concerned about what is the meaning of Europe's Day, and that it's a common priority. So we have to continue working on it. I don't know if through making a common and public holiday for everybody and understand and recognize the importance of this day. So that's my contribution today, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rosa. I will take home many of your messages, but particularly we have to be more ambitious. Yes, absolutely. I will take this. Well, now, sorry, I said otherwise before, but we will give the floor now to Astrid from DG REGIO.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Rosa, for your statement, because I very much subscribe on what. On the question about involving young people and how to reach out and what they could really bring to Interreg, first of all, I would like to say that from an institutional point of view, even though it's very important to be involved in concrete projects, the European Commission, at least from what I can say, is not a closed institution. So I would like to say to all young people that it is possible to reach out people in the European Commission to have also informal chats with decision maker. And there are also very good initiatives from the Commission to open their arms and their hands, if I may say, to this young generation, even though we need to communicate obviously better and to be more probably active with I would say, a better language or a more simple language, but those initiatives exist. And I would like to say that we have, with the birthday of Interreg for their 30 years, launched a youth also manifesto, where we had the opportunity, and also with some Interreg Volunteer Youth, to make a state of play of expectation of young people and to what extent they can be better involved. And thanks to this core group of people, we have built a manifesto with recommendations, and we are still very much in contact with those young people, where now we need to implement some recommendation, and where we give also the possibility of young people to I would say, to be the leader of some actions. Whenever you have any ideas, and also with the support of the Commission, obviously, but really, this is where you can be heard, and this pass through different informal LinkedIn group, for example, also Facebook group, different events that we organize, and you are very, very much, we need you at some point. We need to have someone with whom we need to work. And as I would say, Commission and institution, if we can help to open any doors or to knock at some doors, if you need our support, we are really here for that. So to involve also more young people which are not at the university, for example, I think that definitely the alumni network of IVs is definitely a good platform, at least for us. Personally, also, I go back to my university whenever I can. I try to testimonial. I try to really spread the word about what we do, and that's something important, to put some faces. And we had also this discussion with Agnès, to put some faces simply on the daily job that we are doing, and I think that that's something that could help very much. Definitely to talk simply to any young people. And what young people can bring, I would say they help to check, definitely to think about priorities, definitely where the European Union can act. Again, in this manifesto, it was very crystal clear that European territorial cooperation, so Interreg, but also macro-regional strategies, could really help into environment and climate, obviously, because this is a common challenges that you cannot solve in isolation. That could help also in employment for young people, helping with financing some projects to help young people to find jobs, helping also on trainings and upgrading skills that count also with language skills, for example. And what we are also doing, at least at the European Commission, we are currently working on a MOOC that would help any people not familiar with Interreg and macro-regional strategies to get this course, even though they are not enrolled in the university degree. So again, we are trying to I would say, communicate in different manners. And definitely young people anytime could really be the voice, and they can center the priorities of what Interreg could focus on. And that's what we needed to hear also in the period of transition, as Pascal said, for the future of Interreg programs. And that's the moment to do so. And we need you at the rendezvous, if I may say. So that was the message I wanted to pass. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Astrid. Well, I can swear that the Commission is not a closed institution. Yes, we just need to look at the projects we are implementing together. Thanks a lot. And now, last but not least, I would like to give the floor to Emmanuel.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be short as well, because I know I'm the last speaker before the Q&A session. So yeah, I'll try to keep it short. And I would like to perhaps answer from two different angles. The first one would be focused on what I think, and the answer I'll be trying to give to those questions you ask. And then second, I'd like to, after that, to present some initiatives that we've been launching recently, and that try to answer to these challenges that are embedded in the questions you ask, actually. So first, as regards the current situation, what I would like to say first is that when I graduated, I knew that European territorial cooperation I knew what European territorial cooperation was about, and also I knew a bit about the EU policymaking process because I studied a master's in European affairs. But I know it's not the case of most young people, and I know I'm part of what I would call, perhaps it's not the best way to say it, but I'm part of the European bubble, which is not the case of all young people. And as other colleagues said, perhaps we should try to work towards raising awareness on what the EU is doing, especially what we are doing as part of European territorial cooperation, and also about the EU policymaking process. And I think that one way to do it would be to perhaps, I don't know under which form, because I'm not a specialist, I'm not a teacher, but I think that since from an early age, young people should be taught about the EU and its functioning. I know it's the case in some schools and in some countries in particular, but I know it's not generalized. I remember that when I was at the high school, I didn't learn much about the EU at that time, and I don't know exactly how it is nowadays, but I know that the EU perhaps it's not taught as it should be. So that would be a first answer, and perhaps a first observation on the current situation. Then I also think that young people, young graduates that have not a specific interest or knowledge or on the functioning of the EU, perhaps should be helped differently, and in this case, I think that we shouldn't. I don't know what. I don't have any concrete solution to offer, but perhaps the EU should transform a bit its way of communicating to young people, and perhaps, and I agree with what some colleagues said in particular, perhaps adapt to these new technologies and to let's say fashionable ways of communicating in order to reach out to young people. That's another observation. And yeah, and just perhaps to sum up on this part, I also think that we should try to I agree, sorry, with what, especially with what Rosa said, that the challenges that the EU is currently facing has no border, and perhaps that could be a good starting point to raise awareness on what the EU is doing and should be doing, and show to young people in particular that since many challenges such as climate change, on which young people are particularly interested in, perhaps show that the EU has something to do and that the EU can do something, and perhaps it would be a good way to help young people be more aware of what the EU is doing and have another opinion on this, change a bit the mindset. And because we know that there is a lot of EU bashing in EU countries, which is a bad thing, and this also applies to young people. So I guess that we should also try to show the other side of the coin and show that the EU is doing great things as well. So perhaps also on this. And I'll be very short on the second part. I would like to mention a very few initiatives that we've launched recently, and that, as I said at the beginning, perhaps answer a bit to these challenges. Well, there is a Mediterranean focus in those initiatives, because I will be speaking a bit on behalf of the Inter-Mediterranean Commission of the CPMR, that is doing a lot and that is focusing a lot on the youth. And well, first we've launched a youth council in collaboration with all our member regions in the Mediterranean, but in particular with the Région Sud, Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur, but also Regione Lazio in Italia. And what we're trying to do is to have this youth council in the Mediterranean, well, Euro-Mediterranean area, let's say, and we're trying to encourage people to discuss. And let's say it's a space for them to express ideas and reflect a bit on the future of the EU in particular. And I think it's a great initiative that we are trying, of course, to keep active in time, but also to replicate in other areas. And last thing I'd like to mention, and this is I think a good example of what Interreg can do as well. As part of the Interreg Mediterranean program, we are currently working on what we call the joint summer school, and the exact label is we will call it the Interac Med Academy. Well, what I'm telling you is very new information, because it hasn't gone official yet, but we are working on it, and in September, from September 2021 onwards, we'll be launching this summer school that will be open to any young in Europe, but especially the ones that are interested in the Med area, because we will be focusing on the Med, and we will cover all the themes and the areas that are in line with the priorities of the program, meaning protection of the biodiversity, sustainable tourism, blue growth, green growth, etc. And this summer school will last until June 2022. And of course, we'll be trying through this summer school to promote a bit the Interreg and European territorial cooperation, of course. So sorry, I was a bit long, but just wanted to mention these initiatives that I think are quite interesting.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. I would like to comment very briefly, but before I would like to remind that you can make, to those watching, that you can make your questions. There are not that many, and you still have some minutes. Anyway, if you watch this afterwards in our Facebook website page, then you can also contact us if you have further questions. And of course, I think you have probably you have the way to access to some of the speakers. If this is not the case, come back to us. You can write to the IB. I think some of our members in our team will put some emails where you can put these questions in the chat and also in the Facebook page. What I wanted to comment is actually, I think, Emmanuel, you have summarized very well the issue, because communication and involving young people. This is actually what IB was about. And this is what IB is concentrating on. And this is what is motivating also the discussions in other fields where IB is also. So it's a kind of cascade effect that we hope to keep on pushing. I think this is very important. And also a reflection that we are sharing all the time with our members, border regions in some remote areas that are always, it's not the same to be in Paris, Strasbourg, or Berlin that being in La Paranta or Nirehiaza or Kalamata, let's say, for saying a few. And the issue is the following, you never know what is around the corner. If we look at the February 2020, the general mood in the EU was very negative, was depressing. Do you remember these debates between member states to agree on the budget for the next programming period, where there was no agreement, and only there were more pushes to go below the level of the budget that we had? It was February, just before the declaration of the pandemic. Now, this is a personal opinion, but the EU has improved a lot. The general mood of the EU has improved a lot. The level of commitment of the member states is unbelievable if we look 1 year before or 1.5 years before. Especially the narratives, nationalistic narratives and things like that were at the beginning of 2020. But now we have probably one of the most important commitment of the EU member states for the next generations, when we look at the Next Generation EU fund and other other elements that have been developed by the Commission. So you never know. Sometimes a big challenge can be the great opportunity, and the other way around. So that's why I think what we can do, we cannot manipulate the future, but we can try to influence the future by addressing the next generations. This is, I think, it's quite simple. So, but have been talking about that for many years, but now we are doing. So we are really happy. By the way, Emmanuel, I would like to also greet your CPMR, and please pass our greetings to your Secretary General, Eleni, who is also a very good friend of us. So, well, I'm looking at my team. It seems there are no questions. At least 2 minutes ago, there were no questions. So I will insist that please get in contact with us, get in contact with the Commission, because they answer to the questions, I can promise. And of course, if you are thinking of joining IB, please do that. It's an amazing experience, and we have no bad messages to report, but a lot of good feelings by most of the volunteers. Well, there are no questions, but this does not mean that people has not interacted in our website, but we are receiving greetings, congratulations, and felicitations for the Day of Europe. So, well, it seems, yeah, there's confirmation. There are no more questions. I don't know if any of you would like to add anything before we close. Well, yeah, please, Agnes.
Maybe one. Further to the third question, you know, how to interact more, promote more, etc., and participate more. Other than the participating in the public consultation that will shape the future Interreg programs, you also have since yesterday formally launched the Conference on the Future of Europe, and especially the IVs. You as individuals can contribute there. And when you say we would need, as Emmanuel said, something I firmly believe in, we need a compulsory course on the EU at all levels of education, speaking as a former teacher myself in my early career, this is something you can share. There has been no understanding yet, I think, on what the ambition will be. But if you want to be heard, speak out. Now is the time. There is the platform. We can share it on the Facebook Live if you so wish.
It can be said louder, but not clearer. Thank you very much. And yes, I think Kathy has also asked for the floor.
Yes, thank you. Couple of ideas. I encourage all IB youngsters to take part in any kind of activity happening in the area where they are. And we do encourage our people to do that beyond any language course. The most important thing you can do is to dive into the society you are in for the time you are living in the country or the city where you are performing the time with the IB. And I think it's a very interesting way of learning a language beyond any kind of classroom. And just to end, maybe the Commission could consider, as Manuel was talking about the Mediterranean view, to invite maybe for a period of time a non-European country to take part in the IB project, because we in the Three Cultures Foundation, we usually try to focus our attention in non-European countries as guests in any project we handle. And I think it's a very interesting way of breaking boundaries, getting people closer to differences, and increasing our commitment with a more open society.
Thank you very much, Kathy. I have to say we have received a question actually from a former IB, Jules Stifter, very active one. And I think this question, I have the impression it is addressed to Pascal. So sorry for this robbery, but the question is, could you please tell us what will be the level of cooperation with other DGs in the proposal, in the upcoming IB program? Well, I think that perhaps the question would be, what is the level of cooperation of the European territorial cooperation with other DGs? And this could give us the chance to open Ivy to other DGs. What do you think, Pascal or Agnes or Astrid?
Well, of course, it's easy for me to talk about the programs, the Interac programs. Well, you're talking now to the people who have been working or are working on Interac. But you can see us a little bit as a kind of a front office. We negotiate these programs, but in principle, we consult all the programs extensively with our colleagues in DG Environment, and DG Climate, and DG Move, on transport issues, on climate issues, and environmental issues. And all this, we gather all this input, we bring it together, all the reactions, and we send this back to the member state. So in a way, our reaction, which we communicate with the program, is actually the reaction from the Commission services as a whole. So that's important to know, that you should see us a little bit as the front office, but there's a whole organization of the Commission behind, and the feedback which we give. And that's, well, for Ivy, of course, Ivy is specifically set up for the Interac program. So there, of course, the young people who are going to work on a specific topic, it has to be either in an organization which is involved in the Interac programs, or indirectly working with Interac. So that for us is the key issue. That's the common denominator which has to come back in each placement, of course, because it's what's in the DNA of Ivy. I hope I've answered your questions correctly.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, thank you very much. Well, there is another question, but this is absolutely, I think we would need another event to this, but if there are alternatives to corona measures rather than closing borders. Well, here I would remind that many member states in the first and the second and the third wave, the first measure they did was to close the borders, and less than 24 hours later they had to open, because they discovered that there is a cross-border relationship, and there are a lot of people who are working in one side and living in the other, and some of them are doctors, nurses, policemen, farmers, transporters, etc. So citizens living across the border, which is actually what the European Union was pushing for more than 30 years ago. And then many member states have discovered this last year. Now, as parts of them, there was probably one ministry who was aware, but not the others. And still, in the second and the third wave, they were closing the border, creating troubles, and then they had to open again. Well, I think there are some lessons learned that clearly the borders cannot be open. Viruses, they don't know about borders. So why should we? So, well, there are some comments also, and I will, well, there was a comment about the communication on the Interreg Volunteer region, video campaigns. There will be involvement of MEPs, which are also very relevant. I think, not to mention, yes, okay. I think perhaps Agnes would like to add, yes?
Yeah, on the pandemic, not just that some member states discover cross-border exchanges and commuters and the likes, but I think Interreg featured highest in cross-border, in expressions of solidarities, very much from the outset, from the very first wave onwards. When we were trying or looking for testimonials, we just had to ring up former Interreg projects, and they were willing to, I mean, doctors, let's mention the Sardinia hospitals, now they even have a mobile hospitals to do the vaccination. You had all those hospitals in Germany who took over French patients in the first wave because the French hospitals were totally overwhelmed. The same in the Grande Région, etc., etc. So Interreg was in that sense also to complement what Pascal was saying on inter-service consultation when shaping the programs. When it comes to communication, Interreg projects are very appreciated by other DGs in the Commission because you always found good stories of European solidarity in concreto.
Exactly. I think there are many of these, and this is a perfect way of closing this, talking about solidarity. There are plenty in our website, in the Committee of the Regions website, and in other places. You can find all these stories. And many of them were happening across borders because this is where the closing was more perceived. Thank you very much. to all of you, especially to the speakers for your flexibility. We were inviting you for 1 hour meeting and we are close to 2, but this has run like that. I hope it's also the case for you and for the other colleagues who are watching through Facebook, and also for those who will still watch us for the next centuries. Who knows how long they will stay here. In the meantime, we will try to do our best to implement IB in the best way, to welcome a lot of young people from the EU, but also from the IPA countries and from the neighborhood, to have more programs, to have more projects involved, and to make IB what we dream to be, one of the weapons of future to involve the younger generations in European affairs on the ground. Let's see, perhaps in 1 year after the pandemic, we can meet again in Brussels, and then we can see what's going on. Thank you very much to all of you. Stay safe and healthy. Get your vaccine very soon. And well, I really, really look forward meeting you all in Brussels or anywhere in any border in Europe. Thank you very much and have a very nice evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.